Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Well, Tony, we got stuck in traffic. The Buckeyes got to their hotel arrival like 20 to 30 minutes earlier than expected. We did not. And we're now sitting in a hotel room with a lamp tilted on its side to try and give us a little more light on our faces. Tony, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, Tom. Thank you for asking. Yes. I did not know Chicago traffic could be an issue. This is the first time for me. I was not unaware. I was caught unaware that nobody warned me. I didn't know it could take 35 minutes to go 2 miles. Who knew?
I'm a little annoyed that Ohio State did not choose to share their teleportation technology with us because they somehow got from Wrigley Field to their hotel in substantially less time than it took us to. We even got to the point where we're sitting on Lakeshore Drive and I'm pulling it up on my phone like, well, if I get out and run right now, can I beat the bus to the hotel? And we decided probably not. And also I might get hit by multiple cars.
We are still too far away at that point. Maybe if we'd gotten within like a 3/4 of a mile, we would have said go for it. Mm-hmm. But we never got that close. So we are here in, as Tom said, in our hotel, getting ready to talk some Ohio State Northwestern. Go ahead and throw your questions in there. We will get to them because this is for you. This show is for you. It's a live show. It is driven by you. I have done enough driving today. So go ahead and throw those questions in there. I guess, Tom, for me, let's start with this one. Is this a game where Will Howard, people are asking, like, why isn't he a Heisman candidate? He has the same Heisman odds I saw a few days ago as Drew Aller, which is outrageous. Both like 10,000 to 1, basically, plus 10,000. And so people are like, well, what can he do? And it's like, well, he can have a very good game, but you can't necessarily have a Heisman moment against the Northwestern. Can you have a Heisman moment in Wrigley?
You could. I mean, if you do something really amazing, maybe. Like, I think back to like the Troy Smith Penn State game in 2006 where he played a terrible game but made the one amazing play and threw back across his body for a touchdown, and that was like the only thing they did on offense all day, but it got shown over and over and over again. So I guess theoretically if he does something superhuman, sure. But that's just I think the biggest problem that Will Howard has is he's on a team full of big name players who do big name stuff, but the ball gets spread so thin that TreVeyon Henderson averages 14 yards a carry and only gets 6 carries because, well, you got to get Quinshon Judkins the ball, and Will Howard has to run at a certain amount because that keeps the defenses honest. And, oh, by the way, you have the best wide receiver core in the country, so you got to throw them the ball sometimes. And you've got every team trying to keep Ohio State from getting as many plays as they possibly can. So there's only so many snaps you can get.
But Tom, he's a quarterback, so I don't understand what you're saying.
He accounted for 5 touchdowns last week, and that didn't really move the needle because the story becomes, hey, Jeremiah Smith broke the freshman rushing record, and hey, look at this amazing stuff that TreVeyon Henderson did, and oh boy, the Ohio State defense looked good, and by the way, it was all against Purdue, so who cares? And you wonder what his Heisman odds would be if they had one more second in Oregon and they kicked a field goal, and then he's the hero who led them down the field for this game-winning drive. You wonder how much that moves the needle because it's probably a decent amount.
Because he does not have a Heisman moment yet, and so I know there's some Buckeye fans that are upset that Ohio State is not promoting him. As Will Howard said this past week, we've got bigger fish to fry, essentially. He wants more than just that award. So there's plenty. He's got 3 games after this one to make his mark. Now, good luck getting past Travis Hunter and Ashton Jeanty. I don't think anybody's going to be able to do that. But you have 3 opportunities, and if you're outstanding in all of those, I think there's still room to at least be invited. We will see. He is number 3 in pass efficiency in the nation, number 2 in completion percentage, which I never would have said. I never would have expected. 74% completion percentage. Came to Ohio State as a 59% career passer. So you can credit Chip Kelly, you can credit the receivers, the offense, but also go ahead and give Will Howard some credit for better. I'll say better coaching. Fine. I'll just say it. The quarterback coaching at Ohio State is better than the quarterback coaching at Kansas State. I'm just going to say it, Tom. I'm going to throw that out there. If you want to write letters, go ahead and write letters. So I'm expecting a decent day from him tomorrow, but he's going to be judged by what happens after that. And I'm also interested to see if the two mistakes that we always talk about. Last week, they were basically underthrows. Those were the big mistakes for him.
Right.
You know, and if that's the case again, then, underthrow or a slip. Like if that's the case again, if those are the big mistakes the rest of the season, Ohio State's winning it all, I think.
Yeah. If Will Howard plays just relatively clean football and just makes the routine plays and gets the ball to his playmakers, they're in pretty good shape. They're winning a whole lot of football games if he just does that. And he has done that. He's really outside of, you can think of, oh boy, there was the one crazy play in one of the non-conference games where he just looked like he just lost his mind for a minute and threw to Travion Henderson. And it was like, that what? No, that's not a thing. And he's had a couple of those, but really it's been pretty clean all season. He's given them exactly what they needed out of him. And they didn't need him to win the Heisman Trophy. They need him to play clean and to distribute the ball and to make some plays with his legs, enough to keep the defense honest. And that's kind of it. And he has checked all of those boxes for them this year, and you'd certainly expect him to continue to check them moving forward.
Yeah, I saw Jordan asking, when's the next what I know, what I think, what I wonder that I'm going to write. I will put one out this week, I promise, after this game at some point. It's just gotten tough with the road trips and basketball, but I will definitely throw one out there for this coming week. So it's playoff time after this. So
yes, yeah.
Every week is going to be big, so we'll all bring it every day.
And what I know, what I think, what I wonder, for people who don't know,
everybody
is a
knows
column. It's a column that Tony writes exclusive to our members at BuckeyeHuddle.com. So if you'd like to see all of the future what I know, what I think, what I wonders, you can find them at BuckeyeHuddle.com if you are a member. And if you're not a member, well, you can fix that for just $4.99 for your first month.
There you go. Small price to pay to be closer to me.
What I know, Tony, is that that's a small price to pay. What I think is that other people should do it. What I wonder is how many people are going to BuckeyeHuddle.com right now to sign up for a membership. Probably fewer after that, after what you've just done there. So thank you for that. I'd like to apologize to everyone except for Tony. There you go. Thank you. So you got the Will Howard. What are you expecting from the running game in this one? Because Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson doing pretty well. The Northwestern run defense can be had. Iowa ran on them. Mm-hmm. Now they have Caleb Johnson, so they went for over 200 yards against them. I'm not expecting that from Ohio State because we haven't seen it. It's been a while. Now they've done 175, 176 yards in the last couple of games. Maybe they should go over 200 this time, but it's like they're also throwing the ball, and there are only so many possessions. So I think 175 is the new 200. It feels like you just have to mentally adjust down. You project, okay, here's what the Ohio State offense is. Here's what the opposing defense is. Here's what the Ohio State defense is. Here's what the opposing offense is in terms of will they be able to sustain drives and keep Ohio State off the field. And then you take the numbers that are in your head and you mentally adjust them down by about 15% because you're just seeing so many fewer snaps every game. And the clock rolls. I know everyone was assuring everyone, oh, no, the clock rolls are not going to impact the – guess what? The only thing that hasn't been impacted is the number of commercials on TV. That's been the only thing that hasn't been impacted. Game time is down. That's great. Mm-hmm. But the ratio of game time to total broadcast time is down just as much, if not more. And the number of plays is down quite a bit as well. So, I am expecting Ohio State to be able to run the ball fine against Northwestern rather than total yards. Think about it as a 4.5, 5 yards per carry. Like they're going to be able to run the ball fine. They're not going to get shut down. They're not going to be running for 2.5 yards a carry. I also don't think they're running for 8 yards a carry. I don't think you're running wild on this Northwestern defense like you would against Kent State or, a team that just can't tackle anyone. And, they may get to play Miami in the playoff. We'll see. But this is a team in Northwestern that'll be fine on defense, and they'll be able to hold Ohio State to, like I said, 5 yards a carry, 4.5 yards a carry. And that's a good, efficient, keep the chains moving kind of day. But this to me, everything about this game screams, dial your expectations back. It feels like this is not a game where Ohio State has every game after this is more meaningful than this game to Ohio State. And this is a team that in Northwestern is not going to put up a ton of points. So Ohio State probably knows if you get to 28, you're fine. If you get to 31, you're in good shape. There's really not much way that Northwestern's going to do that unless they get a bunch of turnovers or a bunch of short special teams plays or a bunch of short fields. So I don't think Ohio State's going to be going nuts trying to, throw the kitchen sink at them. And also, this is a game where it's an unusual setting. These games, always to me, I sort of anticipate there's going to be a little bit of a feeling out process and a little bit of, okay, let's try this. Let's not go crazy. Let's not run the triple reverse annexation of Puerto Rico on the opening drive. Let's just see. Let's run some base stuff. Let's run some safe stuff. Let's just see how everything's going. Let's see how the footing is on the field. All the stuff that you kind of just want to see. And then you'll maybe get a little deeper into your bag later on in the game. Just everything about this game, from the fact that I think Northwestern's going to try and run the clock as much as they can and make Ohio State drive methodically down the field and, keep this to a 10, 11 possession kind of game rather than a 13, 14 kind of possession kind of game. And the fact that Ohio State's going to be, I think, a little conservative. I think you have to just take whatever you're expecting and just twist the knob like 20% to the left, because I don't think you're going to get the points. I don't think you're going to get the yards. I don't think you're going to get the explosive plays that you think you probably are.
It's an interesting situation where do you just get out of Dodge and get ready for the rest of the season, for the end of the season, basically the stretch run, or do you try to come out fast? That way you can get your starters, out of the game by the third quarter. Because if you go into this conservative and not relax, but like looking to like win the surest way, then your guys are going to be playing all four quarters. If you're talking about your score prediction, 31-6, they're playing all four quarters. They're playing every snap with 31-6. Now, mine was 38-7 or 38-10, and it's like, well, that's 3 points difference in terms of the point differential. But the 38 aspect of that, Northwestern's never getting there. 31, they could come within 10 points of. So then it's danger zone again for coaches, not for necessarily reality. So I do wonder whether they will want to just pour it on as much as they can. Not that they wouldn't want to anyways, but will they try to? And will they run some tempo? Will they try to make it more difficult than they normally would for an opponent like this, just because you want to get through your guys? But then whenever you plan that, it never happens. It doesn't happen. Like we wanted to get this guy, and we just the Nebraska game never turned out the way they thought it would. This one, but I'm also with you in that everything to this point is screaming slog, and the weather's going to be fine,
right? But that's just kind of how these games against Northwestern have gone. It feels like
since Jim Tressel left.
Yeah, I mean they've had a bunch of close games. 2019 was not a close game. That was 52-3. When we were here 2 years ago, that was the Wind game. So that was a game that ended up 22-10 or something like that. They had the Big Ten championship game where the Ohio State coaching staff was like the three last people in the building to figure out that Trey Sermon was having the game of his life, and they kept throwing the ball with Justin Fields with a bad thumb. Like, what? But the guy who's running for 300 yards, you should give him the ball more. That's my opinion. But you go back even like 2016, the Northwestern game was like 24-20, I think, and that's one of the worst games I've ever seen in my life. And Northwestern just is not an exciting offense. They're not a particularly effective offense, but they can do just enough sometimes to kind of drag the game out a little bit. And the defense is solid enough that they can drag the game out a little bit. And all of it just kind of adds up to like, it's going to be – and they don't even necessarily do this against other teams. Like they'll lose to some FCS team from Eastern Illinois and still make the Ohio State game like 30% more miserable than it should be.
You talk about they can do some things, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Their passing numbers from starting quarterback Jack Lausch, for instance.
Sometimes they do stuff, and sometimes they don't.
And here's his yards per game over the 7 starts he's had. 227 against Eastern Illinois, 53 against Washington, 243 against Indiana, 203 against Maryland, 82 against Wisconsin, 62 against Iowa, 250 last week against Purdue. So, or a couple of weeks ago against Purdue. So I'm expecting closer to the Wisconsin, Iowa, the double digits.
Yeah.
And he's a running threat. He's got a couple hundred yards rushing. He's third on the team in rushing. So that's what he will do. And sometimes they'll bring in Ryan Helinski came in last week or 2 weeks ago to try and throw the ball some against Purdue. So we may see that as well in this one. But this guy is very, very up and down. 9 of 24 against Wisconsin for 82 yards, 10 of 19 against Iowa for 62 yards. He should not be throwing the ball on them. You might get some scrambles, as we've seen, where there goes 22 yards on 30 of 16.
Yeah.
It's like, how does this happen? It's like, well, that just happens.
Yeah.
So
that does just happen. And that's one of those things that if you're an Ohio State fan, you're sitting there watching going, this only happens to us. And then it's like, you watch every other game and it's like, no, it happens to everyone else exactly once or twice a game too. It just doesn't drive you nuts because it's happening to someone else and you forget about it. Jason says the line on the Ohio State Northwestern game is down to 28. I think Vegas realizes this won't be a typical game. Weird setting, windy city weather, the lake effect wind of Wrigley whips up out of nowhere. And the wind forecast right now for Saturday is fine. It was like 10, 15 miles an hour. It's not supposed to rain. It's not supposed to snow. It's not supposed to be super windy. It's supposed to be in the 50s or so, and not blindingly sunny and not, it should be just fine. The weather should not be any kind of significant factor. You're going to have a little bit of a breeze. They've had a little bit of a breeze at some games, and it's like, well, sometimes you'll see that the kickoff doesn't go into the end zone one direction or another. Will the wind be blowing in or out will probably have a lot less impact on the score of this game than it would on the score of a Cubs game.
It may have some impact on the touchbacks, though.
It could. Could.
Blowing out would be going towards one of the end zones there.
Mike Ferguson wants to know what the bylaws say about the requirements for sod on a baseball field. Mike, I'm so glad you asked. No, I have. There are no bylaws as far as I'm aware, other than this feels like there's probably a Big Ten rule that says the field must be in an acceptable condition and then doesn't define what acceptable condition means. So it's probably one of those. I'll
bring in the Big Ten Supreme Court to take a look.
And judge it. Absolutely.
They're like, we think this is okay.
All right. We were over at Wrigley earlier. I'm sure that's probably a little bit of a topic of interest for folks. I'm going to throw a couple pictures in. Should I have thought about throwing pictures in here and getting them formatted for the show before now?
Yes.
Well, is that Kevin's job really?
Yeah, partly. I mean, is that your fault for expecting that from Kevin?
Can we say that it's Kevin's fault? I would say yes. So I'll throw some photos in here in just a minute, just so you can get a look around Wrigley Field. And also, when we're done here, you can also find we did a video. It'll be listed as behind the scenes for it's like behind the scenes Ohio State football Wrigley Field or something like that. It's titled exactly so that people who are searching Ohio State football Wrigley Field will find it. And that has like a look. I know there's been a ton of concern about, here's the view from kind of upstairs. This was from the press box. But left side of the field, and it is, you can see there, it's the left-hand side of your screen, kind of the bottom of your screen. There's the end zone. Again, that white stripe is about 4 feet wide. And then you've got another 3 or so feet of the grass. And then you've got that dash line. The dash line there is photographers have to stay behind this line. So that's where I am. That's where I am, like every game I'm down there. And so, yeah, you see the little wall there. That wall sticks out a little bit. It might be 1 foot closer to the field than that line is right at that corner. Those are, again, that's like a 3-4 inch thick pad, real good cushion on there. And, that's another one that I think people have been looking at that end zone and thinking, oh boy, this is going to be a death trap. There's stuff there that there's not that much space behind the back corner of the Ohio State end zone. Mm-hmm. The stands stick out relatively close. It's probably not quite that close, but it's not that different there. I think everyone's just kind of looking for it. And I forget what the psychological phenomenon where, like, if you have a red car, all of a sudden you see red cars everywhere. I think everyone's looking for stuff to be worried about with the setup here. And if you look for it, yeah, it's there, but it's there every week. I mean, I think the Arkansas State game last year, Marvin Harrison had a touchdown where he ran, and on the broadcast, you see me have to like lean over to one side because Marvin Harrison just runs right past me onto like the gray kind of track area at Ohio State. Those guys, there are players right there all the time. If it's a wall and it's not photographers, the wall isn't a predictable spot. Photographers, people, the band people, the cheerleaders, the field goal net, all that stuff is unpredictable. That can be at different spots at different times. The wall is the wall. It's there. You know it's there. You can plan around, hey, if we're worried the wall's there, we're not going to throw a ball deep in the end zone there with a guy running towards the back of the end zone. Like that's a very easy thing to plan around. So again, I know that's been a big topic of conversation this week. Wanted to just kind of, I was interested to see what it looked like when we got over the stadium earlier. That's what we saw. So now you guys have sort of seen it as well. You, in terms of the field, Tony, noticed that there's like something with the grass that's kind of a little bit wonky.
Yeah, you can see a little bit of a dip, which is probably where the turf is. The sod has been put on the infield dirt, and you can maybe even see it there. It's
like the top hash mark, the further out hash mark.
Well, and in this one, it looks like, yeah, you can start seeing around the 15 to the 30-ish yard line or so where, in fact, I saw it on the near hash mark, and you could see it maybe there on the far hash mark, which would make sense because it's the entire infield,
Yeah.
So Tom will look for, not that photo. Tom.
Yeah, no. I'm looking to see if I can find a closer angle or a lower angle.
And it just looks like when you're looking at it from the field, you couldn't tell if it was a rise or a dip, but you can see if you're looking at it at an angle, you can see the paint of the yard line wiggles a little bit. So I went and then I looked right down the yard marker to see, is that just a bad paint job like we had in Maryland a few years back? It's like, no, the paint job was straight. It's just the turf is a little not the same level the entire time. And it's not because of the crown of the field or anything. I think that's just the sod on the dirt.
Yeah, and I'm going to put another photo in here in a second because this is going to be a little bit different, but it's going to, I think, it's not the same area you were talking about, but I think it's going to be sort of representative of the same kind of ripple that you were talking about. It's not the same area. This is out in the outfield. I'm just going to get this in the show real quick. This is out in the outfield, and where you're looking, this is the right end zone on the TV screen. So, right now it's the one that's kind of away from you on the current picture. So there it is. You see the outfield wall. This is just kind of a closer version of the shot from before. And what you're looking for here is you see the grass kind of change color in a little bit of an arc there, right in the back of the end zone, above the purple paint or to the right of the purple paint. You can see the color of the grass change color just slightly. And if you kind of follow that arc back, you can see that's where the grass from the baseball field ends and the warning track from the baseball stadium starts. You can kind of, it's a little subtle. It's not, this is a shot that I took from the stands. It's not down on the field. So you don't have any kind of real sense for how big of a difference it is, but it's a little gap there, a little bit of a transition, like if you have in your house, it's not like there's a step down, but it's like there's 2 floors. And you get that little piece of stripping, little metal or wood strip there between 2 floors that are like slightly different heights. I think it's probably something like that. Like this is not like you're going to take a step down and it's like you miss a stair and you kind of like fall and lurch. You're not talking about that. It's like it's just a little bit of a gap or a little bit of an uneven spot on the grass. And I got to tell you, I've been on grass fields at Penn State, and guess what? It is not absolutely laser level everywhere on that field, on any grass field. It's probably not laser level on the Ohio State turf either.
No, I think it's probably more leveled on a regular turf because it starts out as cement, and this does as well. But you've got it built up a little bit, and I don't think my only concern or my biggest concern is just the grass holding. And so that it just doesn't come up in chunks and people lose their footing. Yeah, that's what I'll be watching for.
Yeah, something Kyle will be watching for is, will the bullpen be fully healthy tomorrow? Great question, Kyle. The bullpen is actually going to be a very busy place. That's where Northwestern is like having their team meetings in the Northwestern bullpen. I guess Ohio State's kind of doing their stuff in the Cubs bullpen, which is down the right field line. That's also where the photo work area is, somewhere back there. So I'll be back there. We'll try and get you. We did as we mentioned earlier, the behind the scenes video inside Wrigley today. Tomorrow we're going to try and have Tony do something up in the press box because we got to go up there very briefly. Very cool spot. You got excited for something I hadn't even thought about, but the door just said organist, and Tony's like,
That's good. And the door was unlocked.
It was unlocked.
The organ may have been locked itself because the
wooden thing was down over it.
I don't know if you're allowed to touch that, but that's it.
I can tell you were not allowed to touch that. I can answer that one for you.
Do not touch. Do not let this person into this room. But it was neat to see.
Yeah. So he'll probably try and get a video of that up there for you, and then I'm going to go down on the field. We're going to get there. I think they're going to let us in about 3 hours before kick. The first thing I'm planning to do after I dump my stuff off in the bullpen is go do a walk around the outside of the field and like let you see the ivy up close, let you see what the bullpen area is like, let you see where the whatever we can see in terms of the areas around the field. The video today, you got to look inside the dugout, the Cubs home dugout. I'll see if I can get in there, like go down there and take a look around there for you tomorrow as well. So make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Buckeye Huddle. I'm just going to keep throwing these pictures of the field up there just so people can see it. Mike, I really appreciate Mike thinking that I have control over the weather. I did not bring my weather machine with me, so I do not have control over the weather. But if it does rain, I will be fine with taking the blame.
The photographers, when they bring their rain gear, it doesn't rain. Maybe you should just always never leave home without it, Tom.
That's good advice.
The best course of action. I think I just saw Fort Wayne Buck there asking if we're going to see more of the jack position. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to get a health update on Mitchell Milton. And we haven't gotten one that I'm aware of, at least not talking to Ryan Day yesterday or on Wednesday rather, or on Tuesday. So I don't know if his presence would impact that, or if they just feel like, well, CJ Hicks did it in the second half, you can continue to try it with him. Or if that's something more, they're like, if we're going to do it, we want to do it with the guy that we're going to do it with.
Right.
So maybe it's more dependent on Melton. Or is it just, we just wanted to show it, and now we're going to put it back on the shelf and then bring it out maybe later on. Now, it's not necessarily something you would do just to force other people to deal with it, because you also have wasted time. You've also invested practice time. So if you do that, you might want to use it in a game. But if you didn't feel that it was very effective, then maybe you won't. But this is also another opportunity to make it more effective and to get it more effective, and to see if your guys are ready to run it and if it's something you want to do moving forward. So I would expect to see it, but keep in mind, one of the reasons we saw it last week is because Tyleik Williams was out, and they were down a defensive tackle, and you run that jack scheme with just one defensive tackle. So now that he's back, you don't necessarily have that need, but it's something they now have and they can do whenever they'd like.
Yeah. And the question on there, will a photographer be taking out a Ohio State player on the sideline due to overcrowding? I don't think so. I mean, I think this is probably going to be less crowded on the sidelines than a typical Ohio State home game. Ohio State home games are ridiculous in terms of the number of photographers that are down there.
Well, onlookers. It's not just photographers. It's people that the university, the football programs will just give passes to. So they're down there on the field. But there's no concern about running into the hundreds of people down there, kids, men, women. Like, there's no concern about that happening there. So I wouldn't worry about the photographers. And they've also, Ohio State has changed things a little bit this year with the photographers being having to be kneel down.
And you have to wear photo vests and that kind of stuff. So that's there are only certain spots. I'm going to go back to the high angle real quickly here. Just you can look behind the end zone and kind of around the side. You see the little dashed line. It goes kind of all the way behind the end zone, almost all the way behind the end zone on the left-hand side, then down the sideline, then back around the back of the team area. The team areas are the ones where they have the white kind of cloth down there. That's to keep the players from trampling the grass down. But that dotted line behind there, the photographers can go anywhere behind that line. That line stops kind of by the goalpost on the right-hand side of the field, where you can't go behind the goalpost because there's not enough space. The photographers there's that 4-foot kind of space with that white line, and then another 3 to 4 feet of space there, and then we're back behind those kind of white dotted lines. So that's where that's where we are. But there are spaces where we aren't going to be able to be tomorrow, where there's not enough space. So I think this is going to be probably less crowded on the sidelines than a typical Ohio State game.
I will say, Tom, there are going to be some good seats in this stadium for this game. There are going to be some really bad seats in the stadium for this game. And the lower you are, the worse you're off.
Yeah, if you are down the first base line in the first couple rows, kind of right by where first base would be during the game, or like by the dugout, if you're anywhere where the team area is kind of between the 30s or so, that's going to be, you're going to have probably not much of a view. You're going to be looking through players a lot. If you're in the left field bleachers, I think you're going to want to be real high in the left field bleachers, and you're going to be very far away from the football game if you're out in the left field bleachers. One spot that, if you are looking for tickets, one spot that we did see that as we were just kind of wandering around and went up to the press box and all that kind of stuff, like the 300 level right behind home plate, it's actually a pretty decent view there. Yep. That was, you're behind an end zone, but it's a pretty decent view. That's kind of what that angle is. It's not exactly, that was the view out of the press box window. If you can get in the press box, that would be great, because you're going to have nice windows and stuff, and they have food in there. That's probably, I think those tickets are sold out to the press box area, but it is, a similar height, and you're going to be a little lower, but you're kind of behind the end zone, but it's a clear view. The screens that they have up there for foul balls are all down. So there's a couple little individual wires that you have to look through, but otherwise it's a completely unobstructed view. So
the best seats would probably be like upper deck behind the first base area. The rooftop seats, I think, would be pretty good in this one as well. And then, of course, like above the batter's eye, and you got to get really high in the bleachers, though. Yeah, I would advise if you're in the right field bleachers and you're kind of near the goalposts, like you're way over towards right field, low is fine. If you're closer to center field or you're in the left field bleachers, I would say get as high as you can, because you're really going to struggle to see over the players for anything kind of between the 30s, I think. Yeah, you're going to experience, if you're low, what we have to watch in practice when you're trying to watch through people. Super chat from Will. Hi, guys. Welcome to College Arena Football. I wonder if the field will be as great as Ohio Stadium's. Well, it's going to be a different kind of great. A different kind of great, and that it is a football field, so therefore it is grandfathered into great. Yeah. There was Omar wants to know, when are we getting a Hungry Huddle episode? We shot one. We shot one while we were over at the stadium. Had a very nice late lunch, early dinner. So that will depend on when Kevin gets around to editing it. I think that will probably be tonight or hopefully tomorrow morning before the game, but we'll see. But yes, you will have a Hungry Huddle episode coming
Fort Wayne Buckeye with maybe the best comment of the night. Everyone hit the thumbs up for these fine gentlemen. Strong agree.
Thank you.
Hummus Hero wants to know, any chance we see Steve Bartman impact the game? But what about, Tony, what about the Yankees fans? And someone goes up to try and catch a pass and they like grab the receiver's hands and take the football away. What about that?
Well, that would not be appreciated. If you do that in Chicago, if you're trying to take the ball away from, say, Jeremiah Smith, one, you can't. Two, if you do it in the wrong crowd, you're going to lose an arm. But, you feel bad for the Yankee fan / Cowboys fan / Duke fan that are all the same person. So, no, I don't think you'll see that. You won't see Steve Bartman impact the game. You won't see Moises Alou here. I did send a picture of the Steve Bartman area of seat to a couple of people, and may have thrown some expletives in that direct message.
David Greenshield, boy, related content. David Greenshield wants to know if you are a Cubs and Bears fan.
I am.
You've seen each of them win one championship, and then other than that, how has it been?
Well, it's been commensurate to my joy and my attention paying. But, yes, I grew up a Cubs fan because my T-ball team was the Cubs. It wasn't because of their winning all of these titles or anything like that. It came about it innocent.
Yes. So apparently, sorry, I'm getting caught up on things. Apparently, I punched us out of the show accidentally at one point. So we lost our audio as I was explaining something. So sorry about that, everyone. BK, you know what? BK says Wrigley Field curse. I say yes. I think, you know what? Listen. You tried to bring that goat in, and ever since then.
Kevin, when we were walking to the place that we ate and Tom walked underneath the ladder?
I didn't walk underneath the ladder. I walked around the ladder.
On the way back, you walked around it. On the way there, you walked right under it on your phone.
Oh, well.
So.
Kids today, always on their phones.
Stroke big.
David Greenshield says, when in doubt, blame Tom.
I mean, that's.
Jordan says, always blame Tom.
There you go.
Listen.
This is the people talking. This is not me talking. This is not Kevin talking. This is the public. John Q. Public.
Yep.
John's Q. Public.
John, speaking of John, that's so cool. Love the baseball stadium games. I think this is going to be a really cool and unique experience. I know everyone is so concerned about everything. I think this is going to be a very cool, unique experience. Yeah, your view is going to be kind of weird at points, but a couple of years ago, Ohio State and Michigan played in hockey. I went up and shot the game. My family just got seats, and they played in the Cleveland Browns Stadium. And, yeah, it's a weird way to watch a hockey game up in a football stadium. Guess what? They all had a ton of fun. It was a really memorable game. It was a really memorable night. It was, like you're allowed to just have fun and not be worried about stuff. Can I give you a piece of advice? You being worried about injuries is going to have no impact whatsoever on whether someone gets hurt or not. So you might as well not worry about it and just enjoy the thing that you're watching for recreation and fun. That is my advice to you. Geiger Lee says, Kevin Noon, greater sign, Abe Froman. Is Kevin Noon, what's greater than the sausage king of Chicago? Is it
the pickle king of Chicago?
The pickle king of Chicago.
And hey, before we get out of here, not that we're leaving right now, but just want to say yesterday, National Pickle Day, nobody got Kevin anything. Not one of you got Kevin anything on National Pickle Day.
The same as my birthday.
The same as his birthday, which was just a few days before that, which you would think the Pickle King of Chicago, his birthday should also be National Pickle Day. And, it's just unfortunate. I think they just, a bunch of pickle ships passing in the night didn't see each other. It's like, well, maybe next year. Yeah. Time it up better, maybe.
Yeah. Lisa says, thanks for the baseball park walkthrough. It definitely helped me feel better about some things. And I mean, go watch that video. When we're done here, go watch that video. I'm telling you, here's where this thing is. Here's how far these things are. I'm walking you right around the places I can walk you around. You can see the padding in the outfield. For those of you who jumped on late, I'm going to throw that back on there. You can see, if you look behind the padding there, the padding is hung from the outfield wall, the basket where the home run basket on the fence at Wrigley Field that keeps those monstrous Cub fans from reaching over the fence and stealing home runs because they're monsters. drunken monsters.
Thank you.
And it's hanging a couple feet away from the wall, and it's hinged. So if a player runs into it, if you at the kind of top of your screen there, like on the other side of the goalpost on this photo, if a player runs into that pad, it's going to swing. It's a relatively heavy pad. They look like they were Velcroed together, so it's going to move probably a bunch of them. So you're dissipating a bunch of that force when they hit that pad.
Crumple zone.
And exactly, it's like a crumple zone. And it's going to swing, and that's going to slow them down a little bit. And then when they hit the wall, they also have the give of about a 3 to 4 inch pad there. So I can't think of very many times when guys have been running at a dead sprint in the last 3 feet of the end zone. If that had happened, you would have killed a photographer at some point, because we're kneeling behind the end zone, but right where that dashed line is. So that's really about where the wall is. There's not a lot of time to react. The players know where the back of the field is.
How often do you see them run into the field goal post?
Right. You almost. I mean, I'm trying to think. You see it. You see that on like the blooper reel kind of things, but you see it on the blooper reel because it happens, like Kevin said, once a year. So yeah, I think that's just kind of worth keeping in mind. Let's see. Mike says, I think Tom should be seated between the brick and the mats in this picture tomorrow. Listen, I got to tell you, it's going to be
crumple zone.
It is going to be, yes, I can be your crumple zone. Now, the pictures aren't going to be great. It's going to be a little dark. I'm going to have to really, really bump the ISO up. Kevin says it's hinged. Tony is unhinged.
I Can Be Your Crumple Zone is a terrible, terrible boy band song.
That is, yes. Jordan says photographers are collateral damage. Yes. The camera. Listen, we may be collateral damage, but the lenses are expensive. All right. We're still getting through these. And we need Tom again. It was better before. You guys are the absolute best. Sorry. Yes. Fort Wayne Buckeye says we all knew it was Tom's fault. So yes. So Glasswing Buckeye wants to know where home plate would be. I'll pop up the full picture again. Home plate would be somewhere about where maybe it's kind of like below where the Big Ten logo is on the white stripe there at the kind of bottom of the screen there. It's at the bottom of the screen, kind of a little left of center. You can kind of, if you look at the scoreboard in center field, if you just sort of draw kind of a straight line towards the bottom of the photo, it'd be somewhere down there, kind of in that first, that like lighter stripe of grass, probably somewhere down there. Third base would be down kind of by where the Northwestern end zone on the left-hand side is, probably about where the, T or E in the Northwestern is. One interesting thing is you see the dugout on the right side of the field where you have the railing and there's like a little gator parked in front of it. The dugout's on the right side of the field. There is no dugout on the left side of the field. I guess they have it all covered up or something. It's like they took the thing down, because that's one of those things where you don't want a player running full bore and like flipping over the railing into the dugout area. You see that in baseball games sometimes. You don't want that in a football game. So there is no dugout on the third base side. It's just on the first base side. So that's
is this going to be like a Michigan tunnel situation?
Well, I don't think the teams are going down the same tunnels. I don't think so.
They're all coming out of the first base.
They're all coming out of the first base. Well, yeah, I think the Northwestern team is at least the Northwestern team. The way it was explained to me is like doing their meetings and that kind of stuff behind those like little temporary bleachers on the field in left field. They're going to be back there. That's the visiting bullpen. They're going to be down there. So that's where the Northwestern team will be. The Ohio State team is going to be down in the bullpen down the right field line, which is the Cubs bullpen. There's that little door underneath the scoreboard, that little blue ribbon board there.
Ryan Day comes out and the music starts blasting Wild Thing.
It should be fun to see them kind of like funneling out of there. I'm just looking at this and thinking, boy, I don't know where I'm going to be shooting like the team running out on the field and that kind of stuff.
Where's Carmen, Ohio?
This is all so well. And so where's Carmen, Ohio? They always do it in the Ohio State corner of the stadium. We have not seen any kind of official or unofficial projections. I think there's going to be a whole lot of Ohio State fans there on Saturday. That feels like there might be a significant majority of Ohio State fans.
I'm going to assume it's going to be somewhere down by home plate area, like just because that seems to be where things flow. We'll see.
Geiger Lee wants to know: did the Hungry Huddle locale get decided? Yes. Do we want to talk about it, or do we want to leave it as a surprise?
It doesn't matter. Kevin wants it to be a surprise.
Okay. All right. So there you go.
But yes.
Okay. Yes, we did it. So
it has been eaten.
Let's see. Going through. Geiger Lee says, we were such fans we will listen to talk about painted grass and turf, not just listen to, also worry about.
Well, and also if you were watching the live stream today, you could hear it being dried, I think, at points behind us. So
yeah, they were running leaf blowers, and it was loud in there, which that wasn't even a Buckeye Weekly show.
Yeah,
that's not the Tomorrow Morning Show brand.
We're all one family.
Jordan wants to know, how do we expect the viewing experience for the folks watching at home to be?
That is an interesting story in terms of who is broadcasting this. One of our board members talked about this, how NBC and CBS didn't want to deal with the TV, the camera setup, and so that's what left it with Big Ten Network. So the angles are not great. So you can probably Google, I think last year or the year before, Northwestern and Illinois or Iowa. I don't know if it's 2022 or 2023. You can look at it on YouTube. Just search it out and see some highlights and see what that looked like last year, and that will give you an idea. I think it was last year, a 10-7 win for your Iowa Hawkeyes. So if you just search on YouTube after you watch this and then after you watch the Wrigley Field walkthrough to give an idea of what the broadcast would look like.
Yeah. Geiger Lee says, if Joe Bowserman was still playing, we might hear all for a high fly ball to right field. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. You could theoretically see someone throw a ball away out the back of the end zone into the stands. Because the stands are so close. Normally, you throw the ball at the back of the end zone and it's going to hit the fence or something like that. Here, you might legitimately drill someone in the face at the back of the end zone.
If I am Will Howard, I am going to try to put one over the right field wall, send it out onto Sheffield Avenue. I don't think they're going to make it out onto Waveland in left field.
That would be. You'd have to who was the Cub that hit one onto the roof?
Glenn Allen
Hill. Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, unless there's a spider on the field. He's not, I don't think you're going to see anyone hit up there. Fort Wayne Buckeye wants to know if there are going to be fans on the rooftops. I assume there will be.
I don't know why there wouldn't be. That's a prime viewing opportunity. I was trying to look at that. Like, is that how much further is that than like C deck, D deck type of stuff at Ohio Stadium? Because it's further out. But I don't
in right field. I don't know that in right field. In right field, I don't think it's. I think that's probably the equivalent of somewhere sitting somewhere relatively high up in south stands. I don't think it's that. Right. I don't think it's that far back. Left field, there's a
street there.
The left field bleachers are probably as far back as the back rows of C-deck. Like the left field bleachers, you're pretty far across that street, Waveland Avenue and left field. That's pretty far away. Now you're going to have a decent view because you're going to be along the sideline, but that scoreboard's going to get in the way probably for some of those seats, and you are pretty far away. But that is one of those things that's like on my list. I have gone to Wrigley with my younger brother. I have gone to Wrigley with my son, thinking, this is a cool place. We should go do this. I've never sat on the rooftops. Like that would be fun to do that at some point. I don't think the view's great, but it's kind of one of those like, well, you do it and then you've done it, and it's But yeah, for this one, I think you'd rather be on a right field rooftop than a left field rooftop. Mark Fetters wants to hear Kevin's Harry Carey impression. Kevin's lying around on his butt as usual, so we'll see if we can get him up and over to do his Harry.
Check out the kid in the sombrero.
There you go. So I don't even need to star that one. We've addressed it.
Do not star that one.
No. Let's see. Going through here. Mike says because the game's in a baseball stadium, I assume Tom's wearing a Mets hat tomorrow. No, I'm being respectful of our hosts and not wearing a Mets hat. Jason Manley says the Bartman section is outside the field of play, likely. McChickens wants to bring back the deep voices. We think we figured out the cause of the.
So take that.
Yes, we think we figured that out. Jordan Kapler wants to know: did everyone leave pickles and beer out on Pickle Day Eve? That's yeah.
Saint Pick.
Saint Pickleus. Oh no, Geiger Lee says. Geiger Lee says, seems like Minnesota's elevated basketball floor, same size, but gets in your mind with the odd area outside the playing area. I think Vanderbilt's is like that too, isn't it? Like elevated, and
they used to have the benches on the
on the end, yeah. I get it. Like I understand that's like if you put it in that context, I kind of get it. But also, I think back to the 2 Vanderbilt basketball games I've ever watched, and no one has ever died by plunging off the edge of the court. So, and
the views are there. Like the people are sitting, so like the players are sitting, so you can see over them. And the lower you're going to get, these are not going to be good seats if you are behind any of the benches. And those benches will stretch for, you can see it in that picture, 50, 60 yards.
Glasswing Butterflies wants to see a fan catch a football with a baseball glove. Now, I am not a wear a baseball glove to a game person. I am much more of a
where to?
No, you catch your hands. Now, I have never caught a foul ball. We went to a Phillies game. I went with my family this year while we were out in Philadelphia, and there was a foul ball that I had like just walked down the row and thought I should switch seats with my wife, and I didn't do it. And then a foul ball hit the seat 2 seats down from her. She did not dive after it because she does not have # the will to win. But it was like, man, that could have been mine. Didn't do it.
She made a lot of bad choices.
Maybe I'll catch a football tomorrow. If I do, I'm definitely not getting it back. Not giving it back, not even a chance. Warpog wants to know, why play somewhere you can't produce an appealing broadcast? So this is, frankly, I have questions about how appealing broadcasts from Ohio Stadium are, because
what was last week's, was that appealing?
The camera deck on at Ohio Stadium is like on the dark side of the moon. So I always think broadcasts from Ohio Stadium look terrible, but this is one where Northwestern has played all of their games to this point this season in a 15,000 temporary seat stadium right on Lake Michigan, which if you tried to put it there, tickets would go for $9,000 because there are more than 15,000 people, Ohio State fans, who want to come to the game, let alone all the other people. So you're putting it in a bigger stadium here. They couldn't put it in Soldier Field, I believe, because of NFL scheduling stuff. And so you're putting it here. They could have put it in the MLS stadium, which again is, I think, very small. And so you're putting it here because you can accommodate the people. And we'll see what the broadcast looks like. The camera angles are not going to be ideal, probably, but they'll be fine. I think they'll probably. I don't know if they'll have the little car with the camera or not. I don't know if BTN typically has those.
They do have a car, but it's probably on the far side. They probably won't have one on both sides.
Correct. Yeah, they'll have one on the far side of the field because you're not going to have enough space to get it up and down the sideline. I don't think I saw a spider cam.
I didn't see one.
They could rig it too.
Yeah, and just I'm just pulling up this photo right now because you see a wire there in that photo. That's the wire that holds the foul ball screen that they have down the foul lines. They took the screen down because obviously you're not really worried about foul balls in this game, but I don't remember seeing a spider cam, so I don't think you're going to have a ton of camera angles on this one. But that's just kind of where.
Have fun with replay.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. Like, it's going to be the same replay for everyone. So that's it is what it is. It's the same for both teams, and that's just kind of how it is. Jeff Frazier wants to know when we're breaking in to take me out to the ball game. I think they should play that at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, I would.
That would be a lot of fun.
That's the thing, because that's what I said I was going to do. I was just going to start singing it at the end of the third quarter, and if anybody wants to join in, go ahead. But if I don't have to do that, that would be great.
Incredible insight here from Troy. He says Tony's name backwards, last name is Name Dreg.
Yeah, I know that. Oh.
You're not going to believe it. I have not spent a lot of time thinking about your name. I can't stop thinking about the fact that Kevin's last name backwards is Noon. That has been living rent free in my head for years.
And this is one I learned a long time ago. You know what Tony G spelled backwards is, right? G, why not?
I have reasons. Warpog wants to know if we are watching the fight tonight.
We have a TV that has Netflix on it, and if somebody has a Netflix account, just go ahead and throw your password in there, and we'll stream that. I do not personally watch television or have the internet, but yeah, I'm sure it's probably going to come on at like 11. Like I know that the undercard starts at like 8, so I'm assuming
it's Central Time here.
Oh, that's right. We are all rooting to see Jake Paul get beaten up.
Yes. Yeah. So we are through our questions right now. Oh, unless I missed any of the starred ones. Hang on.
This is Tom's fault again, guys.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I want to apologize.
Yeah.
This is Tom starring and forgetting who's the star. The star, as I said at the start of the show.
Yeah.
We're the viewers.
Sage Ohio says pumped for basketball tonight also.
That is also on. I don't know if we get the SEC network in here. We have not looked too hard at the TV yet.
No.
I'm going to say right. Bars.
Let's see. Mateo and Fuego says this team should beat all teams by 3 scores when we play a complete game. That's why Vegas has good odds on this team. Weather should not affect the team. I don't think weather's going to have, unless it's a wind like the last time we were up in Northwestern. I don't think you're going to see that being an issue.
No, and Ohio State still top of the odds to win it all. Last I saw. So.
Yep. All right. I think we're good.
We have defeated the viewers.
Yes.
Good. Before you go, if you could hit the thumbs up, we would appreciate that. Thank you all for tuning in with us here on a Friday night here in Chicago. I want to thank you all, as always. And find us there at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up, become a member. As we said earlier, $4.99 for the first month. It's going to get you into the postseason, and who knows what's going to happen there. So we'd love to see you there. And of course, YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle as always. Thank you all for tuning in. And we'll talk to you guys later.